Look at Bitcoin, which today broke through important support. That was just a small amount of pushback. Let's move on to the big board now. What do we have when we look at Bitcoin? Bitcoin is still going strong. That important turning line was here. And I've kept going over this pivot line in these game plans. Bitcoin bubble stands out because it is clear and easy to understand. There's no limit to who can join, no matter how much they know about crypto or how new they are to it. Guess who is watching us now? Robert Kiyosaki is the author of the best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad. We'd also like to thank everyone who put their trust in us. We read all of your comments, and the best part is that it's free. If you sign up now, you'll get all the new information for free. Stay ahead of the trends instead of just following them. Today, sign up for Bitcoin Bubble and enjoy the new edge. Let's talk about these things and more in this film. It's going to get hot now that pay season has started. What does that mean? Well, here is your pay. There's not much going on today. This is before the market opens. We call this aftermarket. It will begin tomorrow. Here's Walgreens. I'm long it right now, even though it's already had a nice bounce off the lows. The Bank of America, United Health, and Citigroup. All of those are for tomorrow morning. There are big names like JJJ Johnson Johnson, Progressive, Charles Schwab, and Goldman Sachs, and this is still before the market opens. That's just for tomorrow morning. I'll include those in the plan with technical trade levels so we can make money from these moves. But then there was the aftermarket. By the way, United Airlines has a crazy bearish chart because it was bought up too much. This is what I have with the smart money stocks user. We're not long. Again, that doesn't mean there's no risk, but I think the worst will happen. IBKR and JB Hunt. For those of you who don't know, JB Hunt is a shipping stock. That is more of a big picture thing to look at to see what they say about the business in terms of transportation. Okay, this is going to be big. This is Wednesday morning, which is about 1 a.m. Eastern time, but we'll look at it in the game plan. ASML is the first big chip company to say it made money. That will set the tone for the market on Wednesday. We are now going to look at what the chip stocks are doing. Bank of the US, Morgan Stanley. Then there are the smaller companies like Kinder Morgan, Equifax, Discovery Steel Dynamics, and Alcoa, PPG, and CSX, which is another transportation company. Thursday, the chips are out now. We're getting the chips now. Taiwan Semiconductor is what TSMC stands for. The market will go through a huge change because of that. As usual, after the bell, Netflix is the next thing on my list. And this one for the tech industry is kind of the start. Taiwan Semi and ASML are a bit like that, though ASML is more about chips. This one will be seen as the first bigger company that caters to a wider range of customers, including streaming services. The next morning, on Friday, we have American Express, Procter & Gamble, and Schlumberger. Okay, so once more, it's beginning. It's fun to do. Don't forget to join the earnings trader. I'm in charge of the morning classes, and most of them are with guys. They trade in wages. We trade early in the morning, from about 630 to 730. They'll also be killing it when they call out and trade these gains in their live segments after hours. During pay season, they do about 2 or 3 lives a week. It looks like a lot of fun. Last but not least, I'd like to go over a few more charts with you. Look at this. The US dollar is up again today. How amazing! Just look at how many green lights there are on the daily chart for the US dollar. It's been on an amazing journey. I remember, if you remember, when we were down here, I drew this wedge shape and told the guys that we could sometime get back to the crime scene. We've come up here so quickly. It should be mostly turned down if the dollar slams here, but it still has a ways to go before that happens. The 10-year return is the same way. The 10-year yield or the bond market here is still close today, but the 10-year yield is still 4.1%. Here is your route back to the crime scene, 4.35. From that level up, I think it would get firmly turned down. Okay, let's take a quick look at gold. If we look at the gold chart, you can see that my 2660 trend line is still being used. Even so, it hasn't gone back down very far. There was a drop, a small spike, and now a small pullback today. My goal for the drop is still around 2500, which isn't even close to a big drop. And now let's look at silver. After a couple of days of going up and down, silver is still pulling back today. It's still just around that $29 level that I want to buy silver at. Oil is down about 1.8% today because more people are worried about China. Does China do enough to help? All of these things outside, it really does happen this way every time. There are a lot of short covering and full mowing in moves that come from this first trigger. Then people start to wonder, wait a minute, when is this going to start? What amount of time will it take for the boost to work? Will it make a difference? That brings the Chinese market back in. The Chinese market has actually been pretty strong. Still, I believe it pulls back a bit more before your next leg up. When it comes to oil, my goal for 2025, I'm not afraid of goals, guys. Put my feet in the fire. That's okay. If the price goal is $50 for 2025, that means there is a lot of room for loss. MicroStrategy stock is selling 270% higher than the Bitcoin it owns. This is because the company uses Bitcoin as collateral for its business and has a steady stream of cash from its software business. MicroStrategy has $1 in assets for every $1 in equity. This is possible because it uses a technique called leverage. This lets the company boost Bitcoin's price changes, which raises its net asset value bonus when Bitcoin goes up. Generated $111 million in Q2, giving it the cash flow it needs to pay its bills and buy Bitcoin without selling any of its shares. Since 2020, when MSTR made Bitcoin its main reserve asset, its stock has done better than Bitcoin, rising 1,700% compared to Bitcoin's 500%. Because of this, MSTR is known as Anistar. Its business strategy and leverage make it a high-risk bet for